Welcome to Align Your Practice, an exploration of the seamless relationship between the business of chiropractic and the future of natural healthcare. Join us as we engage with an array of talent, from seasoned experts to passionate new entrepreneurs. Now, here's your host, Dr. Joe Esposito.
Hello, we're back. This is Dr. Joe Esposito with Align Your Practice podcast. We're excited for season 2, where we're going to be diving a little bit more into the clinical, into the operation of a clinic to make sure that we help you build your dream integrated practice. So we have a special guest today, Dr. Kristina Carman. Kristina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I was nervous having you come on because I think this could be a 9-hour podcast. So I'm like, I know I have my timer here. I'm trying to keep everything under control. We're going to try to keep it in 20 minutes.
Okay.
So this is about health coaching, Doc. And I think we should pause first and let the listeners know who you are and your role inside of the AlignLife organization. And then we can kind of geek out on the journey of health coaching. How does that sound?
Sounds amazing. All right.
So I'll say a couple things and then you fill it in. I know you're very, people always talk about my accolades and all my background and history. And I love having someone who has all this juice that I don't have because I have all these letters, but this is a whole new list of things. One of the dreams I always had was to become a naturopathic doctor. I am a board certified naturopath, but you have the ND degree, which is something I've always wanted. So high five, congrats. I'm so excited that you have that. You also have the functional medicine practitioner certificate. You have the IFM, a clinical practitioner, and you're also a health coach. So how did all this happen? Give me your journey on all these accolades, academic achievements.
Goodness, oh boy. So going back many, many years, I trained as a classical ballerina and danced for many years until an injury. We go through these crossroads, we get to crossroads in life. And I was derailed a little bit from what was my passion and what I knew from a very young age was where I was heading. And at that point, I really had to make, some really significant decisions, I think, on where I was going to go and where does life lead now? And that's really where it started for me, particularly because I had such a keen interest in, the biophysical and the movement therapy side of it, coming from a very dance background. But I wanted to take that further and see how I can really integrate all the areas, what I call my pillars of health. And that just doesn't mean that's not just the physical, that's looking at the metaphysical, our stress and what we digest, what we eat, but also what we invite into our lives as far as, everything. What we bring in manifests here and everywhere, really. So that's really what led me to start studying within the nutritional space. Nutritional therapy came first, and then from there came naturopathic medicine. I wanted to, again, take it further because I was very fascinated with, Eastern medicine and Eastern medical energetics. I was very, very fascinated with naturopathic treatment protocols and how we support from a natural perspective. So in my clinical practice, I will use energy therapy and bioresonance. We will use things like natural detoxification techniques like castor oil packing and enemas and various other things. So that's very, a naturopathic clinical kind of aspect. But then the food energetics, and that's really sort of, I would say, is my ESP as a clinician, is I will always look at food as medicine, because we have a real opportunity there to nourish ourselves before we add in anything else. Supplementation, treatments, all the complicated things. Let's bring it back to the basics. What is the simple, fundamental underpinning of what makes us function and thrive? It's what we bring in and what we invite into our bodies. So it kind of went from there, and then the studying never stopped. So I started practicing, obviously, as soon as I finished my initial training, and then added lots of qualifications along the way. The functional medicine came in because I had a real interest in, adding the lab integration into clinical practice. So I really wanted to take a deep dive into see what that would look like from a naturopathic standpoint, and how I can support patients if they do come at me with labs from other practitioners, or even if we do labs ourselves, because sometimes that's a really important tool for a lot of patients as far as compliance and, adhering to protocols. So I really wanted that piece, and that was the sort of the last study qualification. And now I'm like, oh, I'd really love to go back and get a Chinese medicine, like a doctor of Chinese medicine. Oh my gosh, it never ends. It never ends, Dr. Joe. So I'm, it's been an incredible journey, and yes, so I love it. I love it. It's my life's work.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I had a similar journey of just getting some training academically, and opens the door to how inspiring the body's ability to heal is, that it's hard to stop, because you learn digestion, then you learn endocrinology, and then you learn. So it's very different than the practice of medicine, where the allopathic approach, where you study, let's say, the brain, and you study the brain, you keep studying the brain, and then you're looking at the brain, and maybe you study headaches and you think it's all caused by the brain because you study the brain. It's like, oh, the gut could cause this, because it's very monomaniacal on their study of one specific thing, which is great with trauma, and it's great with advanced crisis, near-death experience, but it doesn't really play an effective role when you're looking at chronic health conditions, which is what most people are suffering from, which is all-inclusive to the different systems of the body, from my perspective. So let's kind of, health coaching something is very interesting. When it came around, I don't know if it was 10 years ago or so, I was like, what a cool concept. What an adversity to healthcare that we never had this field, right? I mean, when you think about it, it's fairly new, right? 10, 15 years or...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, my goodness, how necessary it is, given the current state of our healthcare system, the current state of our populations, as we unfortunately get sicker and sicker and sicker, and more chronic illnesses and diseases really come into play. And maybe even, I mean, maybe I'm being really controversial here, but as we become more comfortable in our lives, we become less resilient. So in these cases, maybe we need a little bit more support. We need a little bit more help. We need someone to hold our hands through this journey, to hold us accountable for some of those choices, to support sustainable behavior change that our primary care physicians and our doctors and other practitioners are just simply not able to do, because of their training and because of the way the medical system is set up. It's very, very unfortunate, but then it's also an opportunity for us as health coaches to really see how we can integrate and really filter that in to support what does real integrative medicine look like? What does this mean? And how we can actually really help people long term, because if we don't do this is not going to end well.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that I could share a little bit of my journey in AlignLife in the goal of integrated healthcare. It's tough to integrate healthcare. First, I'll start with that. Of adding additional services is tough, and to support chiropractors that have good self-awareness and they realize they have a population that's suffering from the most extensive epidemic in the history of mankind, which is obesity, overweight and obesity at 68% of society, scaling at a couple percent a year. That's a scary reality. We're looking at the patients walking into the chiropractic office. The majority are excessively inflamed, inflammation in the brain, muscle tissue, gut lining, massive inflammation. We're also looking at such a very dramatic change in the last 20 years on blood sugar regulation, to the point that they disregard adult onset diabetes, and now it's not called adult onset, it's only called type 2. It used to be interchangeable, those words. Now we're having type 2 diabetes in 10-year-olds, so they had to negate that thought. So what does a chiropractor do when the patient's walking in the door? They do have a subluxation, which is, as we know as chiropractors, pressure on a nerve. There's innate loss of innate healing potential of the body because the nervous system's compromised. But on top of that, we're dealing with the joints are inflamed, the systemically inflammation, their gut is too permeable. They got excessive toxins in their tissue. They're malnourished with good vitamins. And we're going to give this adjustment and hope it's going to give as much impact as possible. And the chiropractor gets kind of, in a sense, lost of what do I do with the rest that I can keenly see with my eyes as a suboptimal health, right? So my suffering has been this integration. And over the last year, my conviction in making this the most integrated natural healthcare organization in the world, that conviction that I made has innately created experiences like having your ability to come onto the team. So I think lessons learned in life when we step up out of fear and we hold our ground on what we truly believe. And my belief is the integration of healthcare with natural healthcare with chiropractic care is one of the greatest movements in healthcare as an industry worldwide. And I stand my ground on that. So tell me from your perspective, being a health coach, how do you see that integration? You've been in the AlignLife system now. How do you see it? I know you said there's a couple of kinds of health coaches. How do you see supporting the chiro that is in pain, thinking, can we really do this? Give me your perspective so far in your journey.
Yeah. So I think firstly, it's really important to define, what a health coach means. And I would say, certainly from my perspective and my experience, I think there's almost two tiers of health coaches. There's one tier here that does, an amazing certification and qualification, and they will take on private clients in a private setting and coach them through some of those health choices, the behavior change, maybe looking a little bit at diet and lifestyle, but maybe not diving that deep because it's beyond their remit or beyond what their training allows. I mean, obviously, with the exception of those that have further training, that have nutrition or dietetics or any of these other things added into their scope of practice, then they're sort of off they go, and they can build a really successful, wonderful practice, hopefully. How I see it, certainly within the AlignLife setting, is we need a health coach that maybe already has a little bit more of an understanding of food energetics. Certainly, that's a really big one, and nutrient interactions, because we have ASEVA and we have this incredible nutraceuticals support system that 100% needs to be integrated into everything that we're doing. And I would say that they need to have some understanding of functional lab integration, so that if that incredible chiropractor who has the opportunity face-to-face with these patients who they know have, they can see it, obviously within an adjustment or within, the first consultation, there's only so much that you can do. And even in a care plan, there's only so much you can do. How can we, and we should 100% integrate health coaching to hug that care plan, so that this patient not only has the neurological and sort of the spinal adjustment and support, but as chiropractors, we know that it goes beyond that. It goes way beyond that. We need to look at inflammation. We need to look at blood sugar, because an adjustment here, okay, yes, you're going to give relief and support to this patient, but we need more, and we have an opportunity because we have these patients in front of us. And we have these patients in front of us that have already come into a setting that is not medical. So the energy is already so different. So suddenly you bring these health coaches in there that have some understanding of lab integrations, because we offer this within our AlignLife group. We offer the nutraceuticals, and we can offer the dietary support and the lifestyle support to carry them along this journey. I would say 100% the compliance with patients who go through a care plan with health coaching alongside is far greater than the chiropractor who has already a lot on their shoulders, who just says, "Oh, look, here's some things to do that you need to do to lower inflammation. Here's some supplements." And they're so busy that they can't necessarily follow up to see if we need to change that. This is where the health coaching comes in and can really support this whole process.
So it's a two practitioner practice, really. It's a chiropractor with which they're not necessarily used to. The average classical chiropractor have another practitioner with a different field right next to you, hand in hand, synergistically supporting the overall optimal experience, innate healing potential of the body. One's focused on musculoskeletal and neurological integrity. Another one's looking at gut function, inflammation. And to me, it's really a beautiful hand in glove kind of relationship that hasn't really been successfully implemented in this particular industry. So what's your role? Like if there was a chiropractor on the call that was intrigued with what you're saying, your background, your skill sets, wow, I want a piece of that. I want to know how I could bring that in my practice. What are you doing? Are you supporting health coaches and teaching them inside of AlignLife clinics so that they're knowledgeable? Give me some scoop as me being a chiropractor. What are you doing for me inside of my clinic?
Yes. So very, very fortunately, my role within AlignLife has lots of different avenues. I will support one clinic in particular, one of our corporate clinics, which I absolutely love. And as an example, just the other day, our chiropractor, he just sent me a text message saying, this patient has issues with magnesium being really upset on their tummy. What are some other alternatives, or how and when can they take it so actually their bodies can support that? So this is a chiropractor who already knows that magnesium is something that their patient needs, but there's a question that he doesn't quite know. So he can ask, and that patient is supported, hopefully. And we'll keep coming back because suddenly there is like, oh, you're there for me. You're there for me.
Yeah.
So what we're doing within AlignLife, and I'm super excited about this, is we are putting together a program we can train and hopefully support in the hiring process of health coaches within the clinical setting, and very much under my scope of practice that I can support and help these health coaches so that they understand the needs of the clinics, the needs of the lab integration, and the needs of ASEVA and how ASEVA is growing and developing, the incredible programs that ASEVA has to offer with MetaLife, with Ultimate Body Cleanse, with the programs that we're developing and building, which I'm, again, super excited about. So there's lots and lots and lots of things coming. So we are building that out so that we can support these chiropractors, because when they turn around and say, yes, this is something that I want to add to my clinic, we can say, here we go. We have this program. We have this way of integrating this in for you. Then on the flip side is the existing health coaches that we have within the clinics where it's functioning and running really well. We have weekly, I was just on it just earlier, actually, weekly coaching and training calls. And I've built it out now so that we actually have themed sessions where last week we talked about hormones. Next week, we're going to talk about digestive health. And we just do like quick little snapshot, little presentations so that it's constantly a learning experience for them. And then we tie it into the services that we offer and how that can come back to chiropractic care so that it's a real relationship that is both sides are supported, and it can really grow and flourish in a really sustainable way.
Yeah, what a beautiful process, because when I hear you speaking, the gap, I remember being in practice, running a number of practices, is the gap. I had the knowledge in the functional medicine arena. I didn't have any time and I couldn't train people. So to have AlignLife, have someone like yourself with such an academic background, clinical experience, and the desire and the passion to help health coaches. What a beautiful integration. And looking at the business side, one thing I realized when I built my 6 clinics in only 6 years is the referrals were unstoppable. I personally didn't really market a lot because there wasn't a lot of people doing what I was doing. So on a business standpoint, you're looking at another vertical of revenue, totally separate from chiropractic, that doesn't require you to put your hands on a patient, and there's economic exchange in the clinic from other people's work. As an owner, you get to take a deep breath and capitalize on some passive revenue for your hard work, the risk you took in business. But deeper than that, for me, on top of the revenue you're going to make, and some clinics you can actually double revenue if you have the right coach, the right marketing. It's such a gap in the profession of healthcare to serve these things that you'd be surprised how much economic achievement can be accomplished. But deeper than that is the amount of lives you change and really impact them, not for the short term, but for the long term. They tell everyone they know. So you help someone with severe low back pain. It's amazing. You have someone with severe low back pain that loses 100 pounds. They balance their hormones. They sleep through the night and they renew their vows with their spouse because of their passion for life. It's a different level of referral, right? When you really impact the full essence of someone's life.
Completely. And I mean, AlignLife is a natural health center. There is, again, in my opinion, no reason why you shouldn't have a health coach or someone that can support this side of your offering. You know what I mean? It really solidifies what you do every single day as amazing chiropractors, because it shows that you care beyond just the adjustment. It shows that you care and you're really invested in these patients' health long term. And people remember things like that. People remember, people don't remember what you say or what you do, but they remember how you make them feel. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. And we have a real opportunity there to bring that into the business. I'm super passionate about that. So I could, again, keep going about, I'm like, there's no reason not. It's a no-brainer to me. So guys, come on.
No, it's beautiful. And the future of AlignLife is making sure the space and the marketing and the integration. I know you guys are working so hard. I just applaud you, your connection between the Asiva team, which provides product, your connection with the health coaches. You're kind of a glue that holds this vision I've had for literally 20 years. And really making this fruition. I see some of the things coming down the pipeline, online training courses. I heard retreats that you have in your back pocket, that as these things come together, those that are really committed, really sick, and really wanting their handheld offsite retreats to really take them to the next level. There's so much future here, and I'm just grateful and so appreciative of all you do for the organization. I think if you're looking at AlignLife or you're currently an AlignLife doctor, reach out, have a conversation with Dr. Kristina to see where you're at. What's the next step if you're not currently engaged? And this is a journey, guys. It's a journey for the patient. It's also a journey for the practice. So it's not something you're perfect tomorrow. It's, hey, let's start just discussing the fact that the majority of America is deficient in magnesium. If that's the only thing we did this month, that's a beautiful thing to help those people. But down the road, it's fun. It's inspiring to grow your clinical knowledge and your clinical offering without having to get all the academic work that you put yourself through, because you're filtering it through health coaches. What a time saver, what an energy saver for the doctor. So Kristina, thanks so much. We're going to be doing another podcast coming up on lab testing. So I'm really excited for that. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by AlignLife Chiropractic and Natural Health Centers. If you're interested in creating your dream practice or want to know more about AlignLife, go to AlignLifePodcast.com.